Now, when 15-year-old Harvey Willgoose left for school back in February this year, neither he nor his family had any idea that he wouldn't be coming back. He was fatally stabbed by another student who had brought a knife into school with him.
Well, I mean, as you can imagine, Harvey's family are devastated. But they're also looking to the future. They want to save others going through this, and they're calling for urgent action on knife violence, determined to make sure no family has to go through the same experience. Harvey's mum, Caroline Willgoose, and sister Sophie Willgoose join us now. You can talk about this a little bit more because the verdict took place against the perpetrator, against the murderer of your beloved Harvey on Friday. Sentencing will happen in the autumn. At this point, not revealing the person because of age and all the legal restrictions. But you had to deal with that going through the trial. I mean, when we look at that footage, Richard and I's tummies were turning over, weren't we, with sickness when we were looking at the detail of this, because that idea that he said he didn't want to go to school while they had knives, he then bravely, because you were being a responsible parent, trying to get him into school, went into school that day, and this is what happened. That must haunt you.
It does, because Harvey was a school avoider, so he never went to school. He went 20 days in from starting in September to the 3rd of February. He only went in 20 days, and he decided on that day, I'm going to go to school, Mum. Are you proud of me? And I said, I am, love. And he says, I'm going on my own accord. And
he felt fearful of school, didn't he?
He says he wasn't, but we don't know. He said, I wouldn't let anybody bully me, would I? Because he were a cheeky chap, he was a proud kid, very popular.
But he'd said to his dad he was fearful.
Yeah, well, on the first lockdown, on the Wednesday, messaged Mark and said, this is why I don't go to school, because people carry knives.
And was that the main reason that he was so reluctant to go, the knife issue?
I think he was never really truthful with us, and because we'd had so much trouble getting him to school, and we were doing what agencies and professionals were telling us to do, and he'd just make up any excuse to not go. I feel sick, my leg hurts. So then for him to come out with that, it was like it's just another excuse. You're just saying it now. You've found a reason to not go, and you're jumping on that. Which for us is difficult because, we feel like we have let him down.
You've pushed him into a place where ultimately he wasn't safe, whatever the reason why he was finding it difficult anyway. What was the trial like, going through and seeing the details of those days? I don't want to make you relive it, but I know you want to speak out about it.
We didn't know any of... We were learning about what happened that day when everybody else was, because they couldn't tell us anything about what had happened that day because they didn't want to...
Damage the
case. So what we were learning, what everybody else... I mean, the axe that they found on him, his mum reported an axe on him in December. We didn't know about that.
God.
They'd had so many red flags.
He had a history of taking weapons into school, didn't he?
The perpetrator.
The perpetrator.
Yeah.
So when you're in court, and on Friday the verdict was delivered, and you've had just one weekend to kind of mull this over now the trial's over, can I ask you, this is a hard question, but can I ask you, what are your thoughts about the boy who did this?
I feel sorry for him.
I feel sorry for him.
Do you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think I think he's been let down. I think Harvey's been let down. This shouldn't have happened. There were so many red flags. They must have known what he were like when his mum said that he took an axe into school.
She phoned the school and said he's taken an axe.
He's a 15-year-old boy. We'd like to think that he didn't want to murder Harvey, and he's just from a troubled background, and services have let him down.
It's a very civilised point of view.
He said in the doc, though, that when they said, what was your relationship with Harvey, and he said, he was my friend. And I think he wanted to be his friend.
Oh, Sophie, I know that you spoke about some of the details that came out and how it affected you in court. Talk us through some of the things you've learned about those
It's like
Last days and hours.
Yeah, I mean, it was like living a nightmare. It some of the footage that we had to watch. I mean, having to watch your brother be stabbed not once but twice. It was like being in a film, and it'll haunt me forever. It's, you know, it's the last thing that you see when you go to sleep. It's the first thing that you think about in the morning. Yeah. You know, we found out information that we shouldn't have had. It shouldn't have gone to trial. Having to deal with the fact that your brother's been stabbed, but then having to find out other things on top of that, it's horrendous.
It's horrible. So, two things. One, you want to make sure this never happens again, don't you? Yeah. So talk about, first of all, about that and what you think could have helped to prevent it. And also, I want to ask you a little bit about how life is like for victims of crime, but tell us a little bit more about that.
I want knife archers in all schools, secondary schools and colleges, as soon as possible. I know that it goes a lot deeper than that, I think, but let's start somewhere and then go into schools and educate children of the devastation, the pure devastation of what this has caused.
How would the knife scanning thing work, in your view? Would you have them at all the entrances to the schools, so it would be impossible to get onto the school property, on school premises, without going through a metal scanner?
Yeah, I think how they could do it sometimes, because they say that they can't man it, but how they could do it is have it in one place and then say randomly year 7, year 11, go through that today. That could be one way of doing it.
Right.
It's not necessarily they wouldn't have to go through it upon entry. It could be that, you know, once a week mandatory, they have to spot check 2 classes so that they're all, you know, they know that there's the risk that they could be checked.
And when you say education, presumably what you mean is not just talking about the real lives that have been lost here, but the real lives, and you talk about your sympathy almost for this 15-year-old who did this, the real lives that have been ruined. So that you would be saying at a school assembly, for example, this is what's happened to this, as we speak, he's in prison because he didn't think through the consequences of what he was about to do. Yeah. That kind of approach.
Yeah, there's no winners here.
As well, training staff. You know, it's evident that the school have made so many mistakes that we've had to listen to, and we know full well that they didn't want this to happen. It's just that, you know, there's no clear procedures in that, evidently no procedures in place for if they think that there is someone carrying a weapon. No. So training staff to, if you are suspicious, and even kids, there's been times where this boy's been known to carry weapons. However, the children haven't done anything about it because they don't know who to go to, how to report it.
Just before we talk to you about victims, because I know you've met the Home Secretary, let's just get the statement from the school, because you mentioned they made mistakes. Steve Davis, CEO of the trust that oversees All Saints Catholic High School, said Harvey's death was an unimaginable tragedy for all and one that understandably gives rise to a number of questions from his family and others. Now that trial is finished, a number of investigations aimed at addressing and answering these questions will proceed, and they will fully engage fully and openly with them, so every single angle is considered and no questions are left unresolved. How do you feel you've been treated as victims of this? You met the Home Secretary. We have the Victims Minister on in a few minutes' time. What would you like to say to her about what could have been better for you going through this?
That's a volume, isn't it?
I don't know. I think as a victim, I don't feel like we've had chance to be a victim because we've been so driven to make changes that we've not actually been a victim. We've not sat and cried for hours. We've just been, we need to make a change. We've had the trial, we've had the plea, we've been so busy. So I think at this moment in time...
Could you have been supported differently, or do you feel you were positively supported throughout it?
I think we've got that much, a big family and friends that's like carrying us through this more than anything, really.
It's not quite over, is it? Because we've got the sentencing to come. 2 questions on that, really. One, what do you think would be the right sentence?
I think he's got to be made an example of.
100%.
Yeah. And what about the debate on naming this 15-year-old? He's too young to be named, but that order could be lifted. Do you think he should be named?
Yeah.
You do?
So it's all right for Harvey's name to be, because he's not with us anymore. He's 15, but his name's everywhere.
Yeah.
So you think it should be. And just hopefully you'll get to a point where you can remember the lovely Harvey that you've lost. Tell us a little bit about him so that we could all know him.
It was just a massive character, so happy all the time, wanted everybody to be together, so sociable. I hate him being known as the child that got stabbed at school, Harvey Willgoose. He'd hate that. He'd hate that. He were a character and he were funny and just a million miles an hour, cramming everything in. So I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just
Well,
absolutely
amazing. I'm so sorry that you're in this position, but we completely applaud your sort of forgiving nature about it and understanding, and also your fight for change. Yeah. Good to speak to both of you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you both
for
very
having
much.
us.
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.